Hello, and thank you everybody for joining us on the fifth episode of The Female Fist. Today I have a beautiful young woman with us. She is the former three-time Canadian Youth National Champion. She has also won the Youth Ringside World Champion, and we've actually accompanied each other to an international tournament, the Esker Cup in Ireland, where we both came out with silver medals. It was a great experience. Please give a warm welcome to Deniege Chaffee. How are you doing, Deniege?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. It's been so long. We've been actually
I know,
chatting
it's
about
crazy.
that. It's been how many years was that Silver Gloves that we were last at together?
I want to say 2, but I think it was 3.
It was like 3 years ago. It was a long
Yeah.
time ago. My goodness.
Yeah.
So what have you been doing since then? Like, what have you, like, have you been keeping up with the boxing community? What's been going on?
Well, I kind of like stopped for a while. I was getting ready after the tournament that you and I were at.
Right.
I was getting ready for nationals. It was supposed to be my first senior nationals.
Uh-huh.
And then I went to that provincial training camp or whatever in Toronto, I think it was. And they were doing like concussion testing and whatnot there.
Yeah.
And found out that I had a concussion. So
Yeah.
they suspended me for like 3 months. So that meant like I couldn't go to the nationals or whatever, right? So for those 3 months, I kind of like I didn't really do much. I probably should have kept up with cardio or something, but my head hurt literally every single day. So I just didn't do anything. And then I was like, the doctors scheduled me, I guess you could say, to go back in mid-May.
Mhm.
So the beginning of May, I got into a car accident, and it wasn't really like yeah, girl.
Alright,
And
that's
it wasn't like
horrible.
a
That's
bad car
that hurts.
accident. Yeah, it wasn't like a bad car accident or anything. Like, it's not even like worth talking about. A Dodge Ram hit me from behind, and I was just in like my little Oldsmobile Intrigue or something. So because of like the impact, my head like went back and forth or whatever, and I ended up getting another concussion.
Oh,
So at that point, I ended up like in the hospital. They did like MRIs on me. They thought my brain was bleeding. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, it wasn't. So like, it's okay. It
this is
wasn't.
why I haven't seen you around. Oh my goodness,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
had
yeah,
no
yeah.
idea.
So yeah, so it was like there was nothing like extensively wrong. It was just another concussion, but that scared me to death.
Of
Like, I'm
course.
like, obviously I love boxing and it's been a part of me for so long, but I definitely had to like think about my future. And I know that I want to be a mom one day. I know that I want to be a good wife one day. I don't want to not remember my name. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of just took a step back out of like the boxing community and was just kind of doing my own thing. I went to school. I just started working or whatever. And then this summer or like March last year, I'm like, I really miss being active and like motivated. I gained a lot of weight from after boxing to like March last year. I gained a lot of weight. So I started like trying to work out a little bit again. I was doing boxing classes out of my boxing gym,
Mhm.
and then COVID hit
Your
and
boxing gym is located where again?
in Windsor.
Right, right, okay.
Yeah, so Windsor Amateur, I was doing like classes and stuff out of there. And girl, they were going so well. Like, I had the last class that I had there, I had like 15 people, which was like huge for me.
Great,
Yeah, it was like
yeah.
huge. And then COVID hit and we had a lockdown, and
Oh, COVID.
I know, and I had basically had to start all over again. So yeah, and then this summer actually in like July or August, my boyfriend and I started working out again, and like extensively
You.
working out. And I was like, babe, like I want to fight again. Like I want to have one more fight or like one more like at least sparring match. I'm like, I have a list of people that I know who I want to fight. And then he was fully like supportive about it. And then I ended up hurting myself again.
How did you do
Funny
that?
story. I fell in the shower. Yeah, but like,
He's like,
girl,
I don't even know what to say with that one.
I know. It was like I literally there was like a there was I don't even there was something in the shower, and I went to like kick it down the drain, and I ended up falling, and I hit my head off of the toilet seat. Like, that's how much I fell. And after that, like, I woke up the next morning, like, literally on my pillow like this, could barely move my head. And my boyfriend's like, listen, I know that you love boxing. I know you want to do something with it, but you fighting is not what you should be doing. Like, so yeah, I'm back at doing my classes. I'm doing one-on-ones, but obviously right now they're all online.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, yeah.
My God, well, thanks for the catch up. I had no
Yeah, girl.
like I knew that you had a concussion about like after that provincial training camp. I figured that that's
Yeah.
why you weren't at the nationals, but I didn't
Yeah.
know that all that stuff had happened
Yeah,
after.
no one really does. I don't really like talking. Well, not that I don't like talking about it, but it's just not really like, you know.
Well, if you're not like showing up to the tournaments, it's even one of those
Yeah,
things
for
that you
sure.
don't even hear about it.
Yeah, and I know that my coach was like Cedric.
Yeah.
He was like, he wanted me to go back, so he didn't really want to tell many people what was going on, right? But yeah. Yeah.
But though, like it's very hard to make that decision as an
Yeah.
athlete. You're an athlete at heart because may
Yeah.
I ask how young are you right now?
I'm 21 years old right now.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
you started you've been like, Esker tournament was a while ago, really, when we went there.
Yeah.
You were really young. Like what age were you when you started boxing?
I was like 11 or 12 when I started. Yeah, so I got like really really badly bullied in grade school. Like, I was like a chunky like weird kid who liked certain music that other people didn't like or whatever. So people wanted to bully me for it, whatever. So I changed schools, and when I changed schools, my dad was like, you should do a sport. Because I was always like athletic, but I never really picked a sport to like, I never loved a sport, you know?
Okay, like you
So
find your niche.
yeah,
Right.
so it was actually either hip hop that I was gonna do. Oops. It was either hip hop that I was going to do or boxing. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try boxing. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like,
Options, eh?
and I don't even know where boxing came from. Like, I have no idea why I thought like, oh, maybe I'll be good at this.
Okay.
So my dad knew my original coach. He like knew him from like back in the day or whatever. So I went to Windsor Amateur, and this coach was like, okay, go in front of the mirror and I'll show you how to throw a 1-2. I go in front of the mirror, and like, I didn't know my right to my left, and I like just got super anxious, and I'm very uncoordinated person as is still to this day. So the first like week or two,
I see you in the ring, you don't look that uncoordinated. Okay?
well, thank you. It's years of practice. But when I went into the gym, like, the coach was like, are you sure you want to box? Like, are you sure this is what you want to do? And he even like pulled my dad aside and was like, I don't think she's gonna go far, because I'm telling you right now, I was awful. So then 2 months later, not even 2 months later, the same coach goes, do you want to spar? And I'm like, what do you mean? 2 months ago, you're telling me that I shouldn't even be doing this. So what do you mean? So I ended up sparring his son, actually.
Okay.
And yeah, so after that, like, he's like, okay, you're a fighter. Because when I first started, when I was a novice fighter, I was just going in. Like, I didn't care how many times I got hit in the head. I was just going in.
Huh.
So about like 4 to 6 months after I started training, I went to Ringside, and it was like a split decision, but like, she beat me up. Like, it was
to get experience.
yeah, this
now,
girl
right?
had like 8 or 9 fights, and I had 0. And I gave her a good fight. Like, she came up to me after the fight, said I was like one of the best people she's fought. I'm like, okay, girl. Like, after that, I'm like, all right, this is what I need to be doing. Like, it was awesome. Loved being in the ring still to this day. Like,
Oh, that's amazing. So you really feel like that kind of really brings out the inner Nage. It's like
yeah.
you feel like, oh, I'm maybe not shining in these areas, but when I'm in this realm, I can be me.
And it's funny to me because I don't know, like, I'm such a sweetheart, like
You are.
I'm such a nice person. Once I get in the ring, it's like a complete different person, and I love that. Like I love that all like out of nowhere I can just be this badass, you know? Like I loved it.
Well, you're always a badass. It's just a matter of
Well,
when you turn it on.
yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I've seen you go in the ring and you're right, it's two different people. I can
Yeah.
attest to the audience right now that when we were in Esker Cup, like at that tournament, you are a sweetheart. And I'm happy that you recognize that about yourself. You were definitely a wonderful person to be hanging out with, and I really
Oh,
enjoyed that
thanks.
experience. You,
Oh,
Justin Pottinger, Amelia Dermott, y'all made my
yeah, my girls.
the crew.
I know. I still talk to Justine like all the time. Still talk to Amelia all the time.
Wonderful
Love
woman.
it.
Wonderful woman.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
for sure.
you started at 11, 12 years old going into boxing, and like my little sister, I mean, she just turned 9 this year. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Is she I think she's gonna be 10 this year. Oh my God, this time is flying. And needless to say, she's just 1 year away from when you first entered to the
Yeah.
competition world. That must have been really stressful, like just kind of the idea of going into a ring
Yeah.
and
It was definitely nerve-wracking. The thing that stressed me out the most about fighting, I think, honestly, looking back on it, was like how important it was for me to weigh a certain amount, you know? Like
yeah.
now that I'm not fighting anymore and like I weigh a lot more than I used to fight at, and like it took me a really long time to be okay with that. Like even to this day, like if I weigh myself, I'm like, oh well, I used to fight at 110, 115, so I shouldn't even be this, like, you know. So like that honestly was the hardest thing for me when I boxed, was like always having to maintain this weight that I thought was like the weight that I was supposed to be, you know what I'm saying? Like that was definitely the hardest part. But as for like going into the ring and like the crowds and stuff, I loved it. Like
Yeah.
I obviously you get jitters or whatever, but
Everybody.
I loved the feeling of getting in the ring and like, okay, this is my time. Like I'm fighting. And that's another thing, like with boxing, I absolutely loved it because in every other sport, like basketball, soccer, all of that, you, if someone makes a mistake and you lose the game, you can blame it on the other person. You know what I'm saying? With boxing, if you lose, like there's really no one you can blame it on but yourself. And like you have to take a step back and what did you do wrong in that fight? What do you need to work on? It's not, you can't point fingers at anyone in boxing. It's you at the end of the day. Like that's what I love that. Like
Yeah, you have to be completely accountable for everything that
yeah, for
you do in
sure.
individual sport. You
Yeah.
can't just tag team your coach and say, "Hey, can you finish
Yeah.
this for me?
Oh,
I'm
I
tired."
wish. Ketchup would have been in there all the time.
Can you just do that thing that we were working on last
Yeah.
week? Just
Yeah.
Well, that's really amazing. Like I haven't met very many girls who have started at that young of an age. Like I said, like I look at my little sister, like she's still a
Yeah.
baby to me. Like I couldn't imagine her stepping into the ring. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of bravery for a young woman as yourself and at the
Yeah.
just a young girl to say like
Yeah,
yeah,
for
I'm
sure.
gonna take that chance and I'm gonna see what I can do. I'm gonna see what I can bring out of me. And that's amazing. And you should like that's who you are. That's not
Yeah.
what you were in those moments. That's who you are.
Yeah, for
Like even
sure.
getting up to today. And that's what I think is really admirable about you.
Yeah. And it took me a long time to like, once I stopped boxing, I was super depressed about it. And like, there was obviously like personal stuff going on as well. And I was just going through like a really hard time. But it took me a long time to like tell myself that just because you're not boxing anymore doesn't mean that you're not like a boxer or you're not a fighter anymore. um Even like with being in the community still, like it obviously like makes me sad sometimes because I'm like, oh, I just want to be the fighter, you know. But the past like couple clients that I've had and I'm doing pads with them, and like if they perfect their right hand, I'm like, yes, I taught them how to do that. Like
Ah,
so I'm slowly starting to fall in love with the other aspect of boxing and like coaching, right? Like
right.
my main goal and like what I want to accomplish with being a coach or whatever, personal trainer, is I want to end up having like my own boxing gym where people can come in and like even just work out, or like I just want specifically girls, sorry guys, but specifically girls, to like have somewhere nice to go, and like
Right.
just, like leave it all at the front door, come hit the
Yep.
bag, come spar. Like, I just want people to have the opportunities that I did. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Feel that liberty of like, if because you don't need to have maybe certain kinds of communities that
yeah,
sometimes can revolve in a gym, a lot of like ego, a lot of negativity, a lot of judgment. Sometimes when you're with, well, as a woman, sometimes when you're hanging out with just women, sometimes like if and you're all kind of training in that same mindset with the same goal,
hmm,
sometimes it feels more supportive because it
oh
can
for
be very
sure, yeah,
sometimes, right, everybody's different, but it could be very stressful if a girl is trying to match the pace with this like maybe 180-pound guy who's got like
yeah,
a pack ab and like he's got these super muscles, he's doing these crazy things, and it's almost,
yeah,
it can be intimidating sometimes to try to think like, oh, like I can't do that, so maybe you need
yeah,
to
for
lower your
sure,
expectations. So to
yeah,
facilitate an environment that you're talking about would be such an amazing thing because then more
yeah.
people would feel so comfortable just doing that with each other.
Well, I think my favorite tournaments that I ever went to were the two that I went to in Ireland, because I'm like,
Uh,
I looked around and I'm like, everyone's a female here. Like,
uh,
this is so cool. Like, all of these girls from around the world are killing it. Like, everybody at that tournament, whether they won or they lost, whether they got gold or bronze or didn't even medal, they were killing it. Like,
yeah.
it was
Because they came
awesome.
to fight. That's the most amazing
Yeah.
thing is you can see they came to fight.
Yeah, for sure. Like, even a girl, like, even when I fought in Ireland, like, I like those girls are like awesome. Like,
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
yeah,
every single one of them, and it was really, that was the first time I'd seen so many women, well, I mean, it was an all-female tournament, but from
yeah,
what I understand, there was over 200 female athletes at that tournament, and I thought that
yeah,
was just incredible. Now they have like
amazing.
this Golden Girl tournament that usually takes place in Sweden, minus this year from COVID, but usually
Yeah,
and that one, right? Which I didn't have the pleasure of attending yet, maybe in the future.
I don't think I went to that one either. No, not the one in Sweden. I was supposed to go to that one, and I ended up going to Ireland instead, I think.
Well, Ireland was pretty fun.
Yeah, Ireland was amazing.
For sure.
Yeah, I love Ireland.
You and I were talking about earlier this kind of event that you're trying to put forward. You were telling me that it's called Pushing Pounds. Am I
Yeah,
correct? So can you tell me a little bit
yeah.
about that?
So basically, what I'm just trying to promote pushing pounds is like, it originated with me doing those boxing classes outside of my gym. I didn't know what to call it, so I'm like, okay, let's call it pushing pounds. You're losing weight, whatever, whatever. I love the name.
That
Um,
is a great name.
After COVID, and like even now, like I'm kind of like in limbo. Like, I don't know what to do with it, right? So as of right now, like pushing pounds is basically just like my fitness page,
Okay.
but I'm just trying to promote like me being a female trainer and a female like coach, or yeah, like fitness instructor type thing, instead of Deniege the boxer, or like, you can still call me Deniege the boxer, but I'm trying to definitely like promote me as a trainer, and that's what pushing pounds is. And I want it to go, like, when I get my own gym, I might call it pushing pounds, I might call it something else, but just the main goal of pushing pounds is like empowering women, like letting them know at the end of the day, even if you don't come in to work out with me, like message me if you need someone, like if you need someone to vent, like I'm here. Like, I definitely know what it's like to be a female athlete and struggle with mental illness and mental health, and I just don't want anybody else, like I don't want anybody to go through that, which people are going to go through it, but I just like to be a like an outlet, like,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
That boxing's like an amazing outlet if people have something that's
Oh,
on their mind, and
absolutely.
sometimes you just
Yeah.
need to hit something. And
Oh, like
whether it be
to
like
this
boxing,
day, if I get,
you know?
yeah, to this day, if I get like in a mood, I'm like, oh, I just need to hit a bag. Like, I
Yeah,
just need to go do
better
some
than
bag work.
bag than, let's say, like a wall or a person,
Yeah.
right? Might as well
Yeah.
just a bag or something.
Yeah. Not really
That's
hurting anyone
great.
if you
So
hit the bag.
basically, you're kind of having this idea of, or this movement, I should say, of this community of females that have an area to go to um, for a union of support while
Yeah.
exercising out their stress in a way, and
Yeah, for
you mean
sure.
mostly boxing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
My the workouts that I do with my girls are like I do pads with them and everything.
Mhm.
I always start with like a circuit. So when I used to box, if we didn't run that day, you would do like a circuit or like a cardio circuit to make up for your run. So I always have the girls do that before they do anything else. And
Yeah.
they always like, not that they complain, but they're like, this is hard. Like, oh my God. And I'm like, girl, like I used to have to do that 5 times over. Like it's, I'm like, I'm like, oh, you guys have no idea. Like I used to run in the snowstorm outside, but you guys are in here. So
And you know what? That's great that you have those kind of conversations with them, because
yeah.
maybe normally somebody would feel shy to say
Yeah.
that,
No,
how
I'm
it kinda
girl,
goes.
there's no reason to come into my classes being
There's
shy.
no reason
Like,
you've done that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's inspiring when they see a young girl that's like, "Hey, I did it, you can do it."
Well, it's funny. My boyfriend and I were living out of our hometown for the summer. We were just traveling around like little places in Ontario,
Mm.
and we ended up going to a gym. And I was like, there's an area in the gym that you can skip in, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go do some like skipping or whatever. And he was like doing his weights, and these like two like little old ladies like come up walking to me, and they just like stop and they're watching, and I like didn't know what to do, so I like kind of just kept skipping or whatever, and I was doing like my crisscrosses and everything. I stop and I'm like couldn't even breathe because I haven't worked out in how long, and they're like, you are so good, that is so cool, oh my God. And then the next day there was a bag there, and I'm like, oh, they think that's cool, watch this. And I go and hit the bag, and they're like, oh my God, you're so good, like they're like, do you fight, are you a fighter? And I'm like, yeah, I box, like blah blah blah. And it's just, that is so cool to me, like, because boxing, anyone saying that they're a boxer, you're like, oh, okay. Me being 5'2" and like this little thing, when people are like, oh, you're a boxer, and I can actually show them like what I can do, I think it's hilarious. Like it's awesome just being able to be like, yep, I'm a boxer. Like what?
Absolutely, especially because nobody expects it from,
Yeah.
woman like I'm 5'3", I get it, the short girls over here.
Yeah.
Normally, if I'm walking down the street, normally people don't think like, "Oh, that's a boxer." Maybe if I'm wearing like a tank top, they see the arms and they think that I'm like
Yeah.
a power lifter. But the last
Yeah.
thing they think is that I'm a boxer.
Yeah. Well, I was wearing a tank top one day, and like on my shoulder, my left shoulder, I have boxing gloves. And this old lady like walks up behind me, and she's like, excuse me, darling, I just want to know, like, why do you have those gloves on your back? And I'm like, oh, I'm a boxer. And like I ended up talking to her and everything. She's like, I think it's so cool that girls now can box, like, because obviously like she's older, she's like, back in my day, like girls couldn't do anything really. And
Yeah.
now you're boxing, and you're equivalent to a man boxing in her eyes, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, we you
love
know what?
it.
Now, like, we've made this movement in all these
Yeah.
years that we are, like, we're getting in the ring and, I think it was, not even that long ago. I think only like 4 years ago. I don't quote me on that, but we just moved to 3 3-minute rounds. Before we were
Oh
doing
yeah.
4 2-minute
I
rounds.
honestly don't even know if it was 4 years ago, because like that started. I only fought like like 2 or 3 times, like three threes. So I think it might have started like 3 years ago.
Wow, so it wasn't even that long ago. See, that's
I
what
don't think. Yeah.
now we're going to the ring just like the guys, like we're
Yeah.
now headlining cards, the same cards that men are under. Like Justine and I, we were the main event for
Yeah.
the show out in London.
Yeah.
I think the first time I was
Well,
at an event.
I have Clarissa Shields on Snapchat,
Sick.
and yeah, because so I live in like I'm from Windsor, right? So
Yeah.
she used to come well before she was even an Olympian. She would come to like shows in Windsor, and like she was just a normal fighter or whatever. And then I remember when she got her first gold medal, she came to a fight, and I was fighting her prodigy, and I was like, oh my God, like you won gold, like it was the coolest thing ever. So she just messaged me like last week, and she messaged me like her flyer and was like, promote this, like blah blah blah. Mind you, she probably sent it to everybody on her contact list, but I'm like,
Yeah, but still.
I'm like, I know Clarissa Shields.
That's pretty awesome. Well, you could
Yeah.
definitely take Clarissa Shields in this.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
Well, we both say hi.
I know. Well, she's doing like she has a fight. I think it's in March, and it's an all females card. So like even
Wow,
that is so sick. Like,
that's
yeah.
amazing. Well, there you go. Because
And
now, like, yeah, go on.
I said she kills it.
She
Clarissa
does,
Shields
like, she's
kills it.
amazing. She's a fantastic athlete. She's definitely made a huge impact in the women's
Yeah,
industry for boxing. She's definitely broken all the barriers, and she's
all of
a
them.
wonderful athlete overall. And,
Hmm.
this is just kinda like looking into what brings you and I here today. You have yourself that started boxing at 11, 12 years old, and
Hmm.
amazing. That's inspiring alone. On top of it, you also won Youth Ringside Championship. You've also won 3 national championships at youth. Like, you've put yourself at those kinds of podiums. You've put yourself in
Yeah,
kinds of like training in that level of performance at such a
yeah,
young, early age, and those kinds of experiences are going to carry out. Like right now you're telling me that you're going to open up one day your own gym. You're already doing these kind of big movements, the pushing pounds. Like these are amazing things that you've developed that confidence to do it, and it all starts
hmm,
with you stepping into that ring.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
And that's so I'm so
Yeah,
happy you shared that with us today.
yeah, for sure.
Really
And it's kind of like
definitely
it's kind of funny because like I get anxiety about quite a bit. Like,
yeah.
um, and every time I get like anxious about something, my boyfriend or my dad or like someone close to me will be like, "You literally used to fight in front of how many people, and you're nervous to make a phone call to your doctor? Like, are you serious?" So like, yeah, yeah,
It's two different worlds, right? And especially if you're so conditioned
yeah,
to just getting ready to go in the ring, like I get it. It's very
yeah.
different, the feeling. I get it.
Hmm.
Well, I'm really happy, Deniege, that you shared with us your story today. Do you have any last words you want to say to everybody out there?
I think I'm good. Go follow Pushing Pounds.
Yeah, everybody go follow Pushing Pounds, support our beautiful young boxer here, Deniege, and her journey. And Deniege, can you put your hands up for me? Thank you so much, girl. Okay,
Thanks,
have a
girl.
wonderful day and stay tuned for next week's episode of the